Hello and happy February 1st to everybody. And I'm thrilled to be here with my friend Diana Bowles, oil painter. And she's also a practicing pagan, I guess. Would you say?
Yes,
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
just
and
call
I'm
myself.
one by birth because my family comes from the UK and I just resonate with it so well. And Diana teaches us all about these wonderful um, now I can't think of the word, Sabbats, right?
Yeah,
That the
yeah,
pagans
the
do.
Sabbaths,
Yeah. Yeah.
Sabbats, Sabbats, however you pronounce it, is fine with
Okay.
me.
Okay.
Um, and there's always a god and a goddess, or one or the other, attached to
Uh-huh.
these things.
Right.
So, for Imbolc, which there are several different ways of saying it, but it is to be aware of animal husbandry, because now we're beginning to see a
Oh,
change in the days and the animals are getting a little,
Randy.
yeah, there you go, I like that word, a little of that. And as in Ireland, it's not like it is here at this time of the year. It's a little bit warmer, so they're a
Right.
little bit ahead of the game. And they start to mate the sheep.
Mm-hmm.
And when the sheep, um, what's the word? Get it? Propagate? No, I mean, how can you draw a blank on that?
Uh-huh.
Conceive. Oh my gosh.
It's
I guess
okay.
it's been a number of years. When the sheep conceive, from our own
Yeah.
experience, we begin to lactate to get
Right.
things flowing, to get the juices flowing. So
Right.
that's what it's about. The cattle begin to lactate to get the juices flowing once they've
Okay.
conceived.
Let's see. Let's
But
see.
before Christianity and before the Gregorian calendar and before St. Brigid, Bride,
Mm-hmm.
Brigid, Brigantia, Bride, Bridi, all the different names that we have for her,
Uh-huh.
she was an ancient goddess.
That's what I
So,
thought. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So she is, her name, Bridget, the name Bridget stems from Brigantia, and all it means is exalted one.
Oh, okay.
So, no, especially because you're talking, like 5,000 BC, 7,000 BC.
Mm-hmm.
So, because it goes back so far, there certainly is an written legend of it.
Mm-hmm.
And as Christianity moved in, they adopted St. Brigid for February 1st to help convert pagans
Mm-hmm.
from their solid paganistic ways
Right.
and get them into Catholicism or Christianity of some sort or another. So I prefer my bride to be from the olden times, from before Christianity.
Right.
Though a lot of the stories that we have about her are because of Christianity and
Well, she
those
became a
early days.
saint, right? She became a saint in the Catholic Church. Is that right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And
Okay.
and they kept her feast day because of the legends about her, and
Okay.
only being able to have milk from the red-eared cow, and only being able to well, being of the smithy, the forge. She's the
Uh-huh.
forge. So
Yep.
that gives her fire and water, because when you're
Mhm.
forging steel or bronze age, then
Mhm.
you're dipping it in to seal it and make it rigid rather than keeping it brittle. And
Right.
then, of course, all of the animals that flock to her, there's like a list this long of
Oh,
animals that
wow.
she is the goddess of.
Okay.
And so she is also of the earth because of that, right?
Yep.
And there are
Yep.
birds involved, so now she is of the sky as well. But she's also the triple goddess,
Right.
made Mother
Maiden
Crone,
Mother Clone. Yeah.
as
Yeah.
so many of them are.
Okay.
Though they don't really give her a long-lasting marriage anywhere.
Okay. Okay. Well, what I found, a couple of things I wanted to mention. When I was looking at the wheel of the holidays, I noticed that we celebrate in the Northern Hemisphere this one, but in the Southern Hemisphere, they celebrate the opposite one. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yeah. I didn't know that. I didn't know.
They're not going in the opposite direction, but they're in the opposite direction.
You're right. They're across from each other, so to speak. Okay.
So Yule is what they're coming into in the old pagan way, but
in the old pagan ways. Okay. Okay. Well, that's so interesting. So what you've just described about Brigid, is that she represents the potential for us to be independent, self-sufficient, but still feminine. And oh my God, what are we dealing with right now?
You know,
we need to pray to her.
Just can't make this stuff up.
No.
In fact, with the or the Catholic Revolution, Reformation, sorry, in the 1500s, they took away a lot of the festival behavior that they decided was, well, that's just too pagan. Like
not patriarchal. Yeah.
The 19 days of fire. The virgins, the Vestal virgins, whatever you want to call them, to refer to her her temple, would for 19 days tend this great big flame in Kildare, and it burned for 1,500 years.
Oh my Lord. I didn't know that. And
men were not allowed to go past this certain barrier around it. And you're talking about a big platform.
Sure.
So the nuns, for lack of a better term, would each take a night tending that fire and making sure that it continued to burn. On the 19th night, they would say, Bride, it's up to you. This is your fire. Now you tend it.
Yep.
And, you know, there's always, when you have a flame that big, there's going to be some embers still in the morning.
Sure.
And then the ritual would begin again, and they would go for 19 days. So one of the things that I try to do is to make sure that I have 19 days of candles glowing on my front porch. I have two big lanterns. And then I go to the dollar store and I buy those 5-day candles. And depending on what time of the year it is, like during this time of the year, they burn really fast.
Oh, sure.
But tonight, I'm going to start the ritual for the next 19 days. And those next 19 days will bring us closer to Ostara, which is the next festival, the next fire festival.
That's right.
And the lambing, the babies are being born. And now the lactation has really begun, right? So,
wow.
You know, there's many, many ways in which to do this. So all of that took place in Kildare.
Okay.
And her biggest temple was in Kildare. And when they stopped burning the fire during the Reformation, everything went cold for a while. But it was revived a couple of different times, and it is going on right now by the Brigidine nuns, because once there was a canonization of her, there was a convent dedicated to her that tended to that fire till the Reformation came along.
Okay.
And followed the old ways. But now, rather than having it in this big open flame, especially with everybody going through things weather-wise, they tend to it on a hearth in the home. So there's a cottage that is dedicated to her, and that is in Kildare. And then they did set up a big, it kind of looks like a torch, but it's a very tall thing. And that is the flame. That is just, I don't think it's a live flame though.
Okay.
Maybe once a year they light it, you know.
They light it,
for celebration.
Oh. Wow,
so it's the old ways that I prefer rather than the Christianity. But there's
I agree with you.
Right?
That's the basis. That's
right.
The basis
and she is the healer.
Yeah.
So last night, you'll see I'm wearing all of this. I'm going to take it off because it's getting hot. But okay, my tam.
Yep.
And I have my favorite black watch, plaid tartan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And on the 31st of January, or the 1st, whatever you prefer, it's up to you. You go and take what is called the brat bride, which is all of your shawls, pieces of fabric that you can tear to use for prayer ties and things of that nature. On the 31st, you throw it outside to catch the dew. So you wait until the sun has gone down, and then you leave them there all night. That is, you can put them on windowsills, on bushes, flat on the ground, whatever. And then in the morning, you want to get it collected before the dew has a chance to dry up. So in Ireland at this time, that's a possibility. Grab it just before sunrise. But I had snow last night, so I wasn't too concerned.
Me too. I have about this much snow, but yeah.
We got a definite.
Oh, I bet you did.
Inch and a half, 2 inches, which was already on top of others. So that is my.
I love it.
It's lovely. Hat. Thank you.
Yes.
And my black watch.
Your black watch.
Oh, and I have Amber on today also for her. She is, she's about healing. And that is what this is for. Like I threw one out for the dogs and one out for me.
Yeah.
And you want to try to use something that you don't wash very often because you want that blessing to stay. So on the eve of her feast day, that's when you collect. She goes around from windowsill to windowsill, from house to house, and blesses everything.
Wow.
And so in that water is the blessing we're looking for.
Wow.
And then some of the other things, of course, we all know, bride's cross.
Right.
And it's also called the flag of bride. It's not just the cross, because it became the cross when the Christians came along. But prior to that, it was her flag. Beautiful. And this is, you should get a new one every year. And I ran out of reeds, so I have to apologize to you. I can't send you a new one.
That's all right. I still have my old one, even though I love it.
Well, the tradition is to put it over a doorway or over a window or something of that nature to help protect the energy coming in. Right?
Okay. Yeah.
Cinnamon and salt. That's another important thing on the eve of her feast day. And then, of course, making dolls. So I made this doll for her a long time ago.
Oh,
it's one of those. I did it with wrapping pipe cleaners.
Yes.
With thread, and then I just took old scraps that I had put out the year before, and then made her clothing out of that.
Oh,
and I've made a lot and given them away. And this year I just didn't have it in me.
Well,
but this,
get it.
You know how that goes, right?
I do.
This is a pride and joy of mine. This was made by one of my little students. Oh my God, she's a doctor now.
Oh, wow.
So how many years? This is 20 years ago.
Right.
And her parents are from Bolivia, and that has a big Catholic presence, and also a big devotion to Brigid. And so they made me a Brigid doll.
Oh, look.
And this is Claudia's version of Brigid. And the fact that I still have it.
I know.
And it still graces my
and you need to know, everybody, that Diana was a kindergarten teacher. So it would have been a kindergarten student. So that's why it's beautiful and has so many beautiful memories for you. Yeah.
Right. I mean, she went to UVA, and then I forgot where she went to medical school, but she went someplace even higher to that. So
that's cool.
There's a few things right there. Now, if I can, I'm not giving you much time to talk, but I'll shut up in a minute.
No, I don't. That's all right. That's fine. I'll just be asking questions. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah.
So bride is her familiar territory is Kildare. That was
And
her
this is
biggest
in Ireland.
This is in Ireland.
Okay. Yep.
Right? I know you
Yep.
can drive around in DC and go through Dundalk and Dunlorry.
Well, I was thinking Dr. Kildare, you know.
Oh, yeah, right? And then there's that guy.
Yes, yes.
So, but Imbolc is determined in the old way by astronomy
Oh.
and the Henges. So now
Okay.
let's jump over to Tara in the County Maeve.
Okay.
Which if you probably wrote it down, and I know you're extremely busy, but several months ago I had said read the Maeve Chronicles.
Oh God. Yeah, I probably did, and I don't remember now. Sorry.
But if you ever get the chance, because
Yep.
it is such a crossover between all of these tales.
Okay.
And Maeve is a goddess as well.
Okay.
So it sort of talks about her. However, I digress. So let's just go back. So at the Hill of Tara, if you remember our 5 pips ceremony dream, that's the Hill of Tara that all that went on.
Oh, okay. Where we all crossed over together. Okay.
Yeah. Right?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And the Mound of Tara was the king's seat, and the Destiny Stone is there. And that Destiny Stone is said to roar when a king was to be elevated, that when he touched it, if that sound wasn't made or wasn't heard, then he's not the right man for the job.
Wow.
Kind of reminds you of the Sword and the Stone?
It does, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
All right. So there are several burial mounds there. There's one, I can't say it in Gaelic. It's Old Irish. It's the mound of the mercenary women. Then there's another one that is the mound of the cow.
Okay.
Which brings us to Brigid.
Brigid, yeah.
And another one is the mound of the hostages.
Oh.
And the mound of the hostages is a henge. Now, it is an underground burial, but there is an opening, and 2 times a year there is a 13-foot beam of light that comes through there, and that is the day that is really Imbolc.
Okay.
All right.
Wow.
So I can't say this word correctly. Astronomically, not astronomy.
Right.
Astronomy wise, it's going to be the morning of the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and even the 6th this year.
Okay.
Last year it was determined that it was February 4th. Okay. So it is a rotating date because it depends on when this beam of light,
when that comes through,
right, and that
Mm-hmm.
beam of light comes from the sun, and that lets you know that we have reached, let's just call it the point of Thales. It's where things have reached the top, and now it's going to be easy sailing because we're rolling downhill.
Well, wouldn't we love one of those here?
Yeah, right. The days are getting longer. So what happens in Sawe is the same thing. When that light comes through there, that's when it's the end of the year, and you have the 3 days of the next season, that ending, that Sawe, and then you begin again afterwards. Well, for convenience sake, and the fact that we live in this weekend-oriented society and Christian, everything just kind of gets
consolidated
together, right? So I celebrate that from October 30th, Devil's Night, all the way on till my mother's birthday, which is November 3rd, which is the end of the festival in how many different countries, including Mexico. So Day of the Dead.
Day of the Dead. Well, and what you've described too, with this light coming in, making a choice, and so often, that's where I'm bringing in Groundhog Day, and that's exactly what it is. It's the light that comes in, and if the groundhog sees a shadow, then we know where we are with winter, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. So it's basically the same thing. Now, the
yes, it
fact
is.
that they called it the Mound of the Hostages, I couldn't really find any real particular reason why it got that name, but it was only for the kings.
Okay. Yeah.
And it was built in 3500 BC.
Oh, okay.
The Hill of Tara goes back to the Neolithic age from 5000. But by the time they got to that mound, to do that mound. So it took them a century, but in that century, only 330 were buried there.
Oh, okay.
And most of it had been the bones of dogs and horses, and the leader that was being buried, the elite, I should say the elite. Because other towns started to come into here besides the County Maeve. And because of that, it was all, old way. Yeah. And then there was one more burial there, and he must have been somebody very high up on the scale, and that he was buried complete. He had not been cremated. He has a torque on, which is a sign of royalty, and of course other jewelry, and he had a dagger with him. Oh. And then that's where it ended. That's when they stopped using it as a burial mound. And the Hill Tara, where that figure 8 is in the middle, that is burial ground as well. And contained in there are those other two that I mentioned, the cow and the maidens, the mercenary women. And it was a wooden henge. And the stone that is there was brought there by the Tuatha Dé Danann. I got to tell you, I wrote down where they brought it from.
Okay.
I would love to go there and take a school and go to school for a year just to learn all of this.
Oh, I know.
Right?
Well, I find all of this fascinating anyway. American history, world history, yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was brought there from the County Maeve. That's where it was. And so the right king approached the stone, it would roar. So.
Wow.
And the Tuatha Dé Danann, they're the ones who moved underground because they had lost the battle. They're the last druids.
Wow.
So there's a lot to be unpacked in that also.
Yeah. I remember doing a paper on druidism, and it was fascinating when I did. It was so long ago, I can't remember everything about it. But of course, the wicker cages they were put in, Yeah. Yeah.
The Burning Man.
Yes, the Burning Man. Yep.
Right.
Wow.
So she's also a kid, think about Scotland or Dublin was Viking, and the south where Tara is, or County Maeve is, was Celtic, right? So there's two different strains going on through all of this. I find it I cannot remember the name of the show, but it was so interesting to hear all of those counties and countries and all those little bits and pieces, and they weren't the United Kingdom. It was Utherville and Nolly.
Right.
I mean, all those crazy
Yeah. Absolutely. I have a couple of things that I want to bring up, and mostly from the cards that we have for this particular Sabbat. And the first thing is cinnamon rolls, which make me extremely happy. It's just the idea that cinnamon has this wonderful magic, like we blow it in the front door and so on. And that makes me extremely happy. Then I have this word keening. And I'm thinking this is something that all of us women need to do, especially now.
We do. I follow this beautiful Scottish lady. Her name is Jude Lally, Lally, I think.
Yeah.
She is on Substack now. She used to live in Asheville. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
I forgot to bring my beads, but I have Brigid beads that she had made and put together. I have
Oh.
a story about that I would love to tell also. But she's originally from Scotland, and she moved back to Scotland last year,
Oh.
just before all of this baloney.
Oh.
Right?
Yes.
And I have the bride beads that I had gotten from her. I had chosen a dendric opal. Now, dendric opal has got a lot of little markings in there. I mean, you can make words out of there. In there, there is four.
I love dendric
opal. And I mean, it's just amazing. And they're small beads.
Yeah.
Well, I use that every day. And the day, it was the morning after the night that Matt had died. And all the beads fell apart outside of his apartment and were scattered all over the ground.
Oh my gosh.
I found all of them but one. And I contacted her. I said, "Can I buy one bead from you?" She said, "No," after telling her the whole story, because on those beads, I was getting the messages and reading those little things in the beads. I was getting the messages about when he was going to pass. And she said, "No, just send them back to me. I'll restring it for you and I'll do it." So she restrung it, and she strung it on black cord this time because of it being now my keening beads.
Okay. I get it. Okay.
I had gotten out of touch with her because I was so busy, and Asheville is so far away and got farther away. But when I found her on Substack, I was still on her mailing list. When I found out she was on Substack, I reminded her of that. She said, "Oh, how could I ever forget that story? Of course I remember you. So glad to see you again." So you can find her on there, and she has fabulous artistic, creative dolls that she's done, and beads are available through her, as well as so many other things.
First name was what again? First name
Jude,
was
Jude, Lally.
Lally, Lally.
Yeah,
okay,
I believe.
Yeah.
So
wow. Well, just so everybody knows what keening is.
Yeah.
There's this beautiful picture of this woman just absolutely screaming to the top of her lungs, and it is releasing sorrow and grief.
Yeah.
And that's what Diana was doing. I thought she was going to tell you something like, no, if there's one bead missing, then that was the sacrifice
but
of
you see,
Matt's life.
Right? It's like, oh, now there's a thought, hey?
Yeah.
But it's a rosary. It's Brigid's rosary.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Sure.
A mala has to have 101 beads.
Okay, I get it. Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
But you have to do 101 sun salutations.
It's like you were working on those suckers so hard for him, and then
I was.
Yeah. Really,
and it's made with silk cord, so it's very delicate. It'll last, it'll hold up, but it's very delicate. And it does need restringing. It's getting there, I can tell.
It's getting there.
Too much space in between each bead.
I get it. Yeah. Well, it's called KEENING if you guys are interested in learning more about it. But I love this, and we really need to express our sorrow.
Exactly. The wailing wall.
The wailing wall.
You know?
Yep.
All of that.
Yep.
I pulled this, and this card keeps coming up for me. Black Bear. Your existence is the resistance.
Wow, that's awesome.
All you must do is accept the power awaiting for your arrival. Now, the bear is not a true hibernator. Bear gets hungry or it gets a little warmer. He wakes up and he goes looking for food. And you don't care if it's your trash can or really blueberries.
That's very true. That's very true. The only other one that I had pulled this one out. This is wonderful. The Dream Realm, which you and I are always talking about on Tuesdays. But
Exactly.
it says not everything is what it may seem. Bring yourself back from all time and all places as a new perspective can be seen.
See, I keep getting, this is how many, 40 cards in here or 20?
Yeah.
40 cards,
Yeah.
something like that. And I keep getting the same 5.
Coming of
spring.
Okay.
And if the fox, that's the other thing. If the fox can no longer walk across the frozen water, spring is coming.
Fall in. Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
So you watch Fox at this time of the year.
And not Fox News.
No. Don't they spell it with 2 X's anyway?
No, they don't. Oh my God. So some of the words of focus for us at this particular time, as we move into this season, because as Diana says, it really starts the 6th, 7th, and 8th.
Well, it'll be the 3rd.
The 3rd, okay, and it could go up.
If we were in Ireland, it's a longer day, right? Not that it's a longer day, but the weather is warmer. It's warmer.
It's warmer than what we're dealing with.
There's snowy parts. Yeah, they could probably still get snow too. The world is crazy right now. The gods are crazy. Watch out. There's a Coke bottle coming.
Yeah. But we've got emergence from sleep, hibernation, and of course that's where the black bear comes in. Mm-hmm. We've got beginnings of preparation and awakening, newness, and cleansing, change. I love this fertility because that's where St Brigid, could only drink from the milk of a red-eared cow.
There was a white cow with red ears, and there is a breed that does that. That is
okay. I didn't know that.
Colored that
I never knew that. That's awesome. Yeah. Wow. So we aren't in I want to say it right. Imbolc.
Yeah.
We aren't in Imbolc right now. But we wanted to make sure that you knew the information. There will probably be other shows that are out there that will be talking about it. But it was important for us to talk about this. We talked about it last year just a little bit, but it's nice to refresh our memories and yours. And I want you to talk also now about Elen of the Trods.
Oh, my dear Elen of the Trods. Yes. She is. My first experience with her was when I was like 5 years old. We used to go for Sunday drives. Mm-hmm. And it was a dirt road from Detroit to Ann Arbor. Mm-hmm. And we would take that road. It's not a dirt road anymore, but it was when I was a kid.
Yep.
And there was this area that my dad would stop at all the time. It was beautiful. It was this great big clearing with this great big huge, I couldn't tell you if it was an oak or a maple, but it was huge. Probably a maple because it was squattier, Mm-hmm. But it was one of those big fat ones that was probably 200 years old in the middle of this farmer's field.
Wow.
And on the edge of the fringe of a forest, okay? Mm-hmm. And we would stop there all the time and take seasonal pictures.
Wow. And that's a nice memory. Yeah.
Right? And I have a photograph of it, but that one is still packed in a box.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I know.
I'm wearing my autumn dress, and remember those headband hats?
Yes.
When we had to wear those, right? And it was Sunday, so we had gone there straight from church. And that thing hurt my head so bad all the time.
They had little sticks to hold it, and it would hurt our heads. Yeah.
Right. This one was 1955, and so those hair combs were in there, and she would just it was gouging.
Jam it in. Yes.
But I loved this one because it was brown velvet and it had brown pearls all the way around.
Oh, pretty.
Yeah. Even though it hurt to wear it, I liked it.
You liked it. Yeah.
And so he'd take a picture of me. And while I'm sitting there posing, and then my mother would readjust and pose again and readjust and pose again. And Douglas was off running around somewhere. Gregory wasn't even a twinkle in the eye yet. And I'm looking at the forest. Look off that way. So I'm looking at the forest, and I see a face, a woman's face. And I'm thinking that, somebody's walking in the woods.
Mhm.
But then she comes into a clearing and she's got these huge antlers on her head. So that was my first encounter with her. Now, I can't tell my mother I saw this.
Correct. Yeah.
You're
Right.
lying. You're making it up. I told you about that before.
Right. Right. Wow.
But that was my first encounter. And she's with me. She's with me even when I'm not there. Because there's always a part of me in the woods.
Sure. Of course. Time is immaterial when you're thinking about that kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah.
My favorite tucked into the trees place to walk up here. It was not last winter, but the winter before. And it was around Samhain. It was later, but it wasn't Yule. It was getting cold enough to start snowing. And I was walking at sunset. So it was already getting into that dark, what do you call it? The gloaming?
Yes. Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's out of the sky. I'm questioning what I'm doing because I'm solitary old school witch.
Right.
If you no better way to call it. I mean, it's kitchen magic, and it's plants and all of that other business. And I'm going, oh, what am I supposed to do? I can't let go of this stuff. And out of the trees comes this thundering voice. You must stay in the past because you are of the future.
Wow.
And these are the things that we all need to pay attention to right now. Because when this all falls apart, my Trods sewing machine is here and it still works.
Absolutely.
I might need a new belt on it, but
it's funny you say that because I was thinking about this. I saw something about cursive writing. And of course, we grew up with cursive writing. And they said that eventually there will need to be people who can read it because nobody knows how to read it that's coming up now. And that's the old things. It's the old ways. Yeah.
I couldn't wait to get to 4th grade because all through 3rd grade, loops.
Yes.
And circles.
Loops and circles.
Across stenopad after stenopad after stenopad.
Yep.
And then the last week of school, we were allowed to make an uppercase A and a lowercase a.
Oh, then you knew you were coming back to that. Yeah.
Because to me, that was just art,
That was it is. It's a form of art. It is.
It is. It's concentration. It is the hand-eye coordination, the practice of distance measuring without having to get a ruler out. You're between two lines that have a 1-inch margin, 2 inches on this side with your duotang holes. And then, there was a narrower line, and then you knew you had to be good. Once they gave you that shorter line, you had to be perfect.
You had to be
I have
perfect.
people now that say, oh, you must have been taught by the nuns.
Well, or anybody that really was teaching us in that period of time.
In that period, right?
Yeah.
But Catholic school, nobody had free range. You had to
right? But I remember we got graded on handwriting. I got all A's in handwriting. I did. And it was the funniest thing too, is that I'm right-handed, which was not a problem because if you were left-handed, you really were naughty. You couldn't do that.
My God.
For me, I hold a pen like this. See how I hold the pen? Yeah. I was told I had to hold it like this.
Ew.
And I couldn't do it.
No.
I held it like this. And they said, you can't see what you're writing. And I said, I know what I'm writing. Yeah.
I hold it like that too.
Do you? Yeah. You didn't get chewed out for that though, huh? I did. Yeah.
No, they
Oh,
taught me to hold it like that.
oh,
Evidently, Catholic school
okay.
knows better.
Okay. Yeah. Because I just bucked that system. I said this works better for me. And of course at the time you weren't supposed to buck anything. So yeah.
Well, in 8th grade, the nun that was teaching us cursive then began to teach us how to do calligraphy.
Right, right.
And we had to make our own pens out of cardboard.
Oh.
And
Okay.
that was a fabulous lesson because
Sure.
it was
Sure.
art, it was
Yeah.
creative,
Yeah.
but it showed you the mechanical end of art.
Yeah.
If you
It
do,
does.
you know,
It does.
that brings in the thoughts of math. It's got to be precise this in order to get this.
Mhm.
It's got to
Yep.
be precisely this in order to get this to happen.
You have to show
So,
your work. You have to show your work. Well, it may not seem like this is part of this particular Sabbat, but when you think about it, that voice that told you you must be in the past so you'll be ready for the future is a message to us all.
Yeah,
Get those
absolutely.
things aligned and know what you need, and remembering the things that, like you said, your sewing machine, your trundle sewing machine is still going to be working even if the electricity doesn't work because your legs are working.
Yeah,
And there's so much more. There's so
and
much
so
more.
much more. Exactly. It's how do you feed yourself? You can't can opener. There's nothing in the store. You can't
I know.
get nothing in the store. What are you going to do?
I know.
You got to know what plants are edible out of the ground.
Right.
Like there's certain weeds that grow all year long. There's a wild lettuce that looks like a lettuce leaf. It looks like, a big
Yeah.
bit. That's edible. And it's
Oh,
bitter, which is good for you. Bitter greens are good for you,
okay.
you
Yeah.
know? And then there's all heel and plantain and
I know.
dandelion and
yeah,
all the
she makes
different
beautiful, beautiful salves and things for these things, and they really are wonderful. So in a way, it's part and parcel also of the Native American community who did the same thing. So it was sticking. These are the earth religions, and these are the ones that really offer us this information.
Right, and every culture has a similar celebration because we've been taught, and they tried to teach us through my childhood for sure, that nobody talked to anybody, and that oh boy, the Silk Road and the Saffron Road and all of it. It's like,
yeah,
well, they've been doing this. No, Christopher Columbus wasn't the first guy who came here. Right. You could just walk up and down through Virginia seaboard, and you find arrowheads that come from the Vikings and Leif Erikson's time and the Bronze Age, and it's got nothing to do with the Algonquin Indians that lived up and down there. True. It's an entirely different type of arrowhead, and that proved it right there.
Yeah. Yep. So as our CDC is now taking down information on all kinds of things as of yesterday, it's going to be incumbent upon us to, get those kinds of books or materials that we need that will help us identify plants and things like that. And I think it's called the U.S. Army Survival Guide or something. I remember seeing that a few years, and it tells you how to set a bone. It tells you how to do all that other stuff. And we have to rely on each other, but it starts with us.
I've got Eagle Scout books upstairs from the 50s. Really? Okay. And that's what you want to look for, are books from the 50s and 60s, even the 70s, 80s, before all of this stuff started getting dumbed down. I mean, really dumbed down.
And this isn't a fear tactic here.
No,
this is just common knowledge we all should have and know where to go.
I mean, once upon a time, nobody wanted to write anything because you could make it up if you wrote it.
True.
Well, then writing became a convenience. But you wrote what you heard.
Right.
So those stories that were carried on, that were written down by Christianity about St. Brigid, a lot of those legends come from the Bronze Age when she was honored so much.
Sure.
Like her magic cloak.
Absolutely.
She told the priest at Kildare, all I want is enough land that my cloak will cover. He said, okay, come back tomorrow and you can lay your cloak out. Now he's laughing, thinking she's going to roll her cloak out. She's going to get, 4 inches square or whatever of a plot of land, and she thinks she's going to build a convent on it. Well, when she rolled it out, the nuns gathered around here and kept pulling the hemline. And the next thing you know, she had the whole county Kildare.
There you go. There you go.
Right?
That is so funny because actually there's a poem that was written in the time of Russian Revolution, and it was that the people were covered by a purple cloak, and the purple is the royalty, and of course the cloak represents that they are being covered by this
under my protection.
Under my protection, yeah.
That's part of the reason why it was trimmed in ermine, also because this is domain, right?
Yes.
Sovereign domain.
Sovereign domain. Yeah, but you don't have one of those fox furs with the head, do you?
I do.
You do.
Because I had to rescue it from wherever I got it.
Okay.
And I had it for 20 years because it's part of an altar. But I did.
Oh, okay.
I did wear it on my head because it's right in the center. But I would use that when what do they call it? The shaman's veil. I would use that as
they do that with wolves and things, I think. Yeah.
Okay. My Aunt Clara, oh my gosh, everything. She had mouton, curly mouton, mink, fox.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
A fur, she had it, except
she had it.
That
was a popular thing at that time.
Oh, yeah.
It was.
She wouldn't wear rabbit because it sheds all over her black.
Well, it does shed, by the way, everybody. But,
poor rabbits.
I know. So is there anything else that you haven't covered that you want to talk about?
Oh my gosh, there always is, right?
There always is, yeah.
There always is. So it's the merging and the mingling of all these different cultures that brought us to where Ogham and Celt and Pictish and Scot and Welsh and where it all comes together.
Where it all comes together.
Right? And they may have, like the Romans and Greek, separate pantheons. No, separate stories for the same people. And that's basically what happens with all of this, because Freya is also Brigid.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And, I mean, they're all the same.
They're all the same.
That same energy. Is it one woman or is it all of these different?
Yes.
Such as that.
She comes out. Does she come out in Samhain or did she come out in Yule? I can't remember. Freya,
she's all year long. She's
all year long.
The chariot goddess with the horses and the dogs, and the same thing with Brigantia. In fact, we were talking about her because of the willow and Hecate. And Hecate is Greek, but she comes out with Brigantia, and that's Freya. And so it just depends on what language you were speaking. And I think when we do the next trees, we've got to cover this better on Ogham itself, and what it all means. And then it becomes another, or it's written above the line or below the line. And so I think when we are talking about ash, a lot of times ash sticks are used for Ogham sticks.
Yeah.
And so I think that would be a good time to bring it up.
Okay. We'll bring that in. Okay. That sounds wonderful. Well, if you get a chance, everybody, to do any keening, and that's letting all kinds of sorrows out.
Absolutely. It's a primal scream.
It's
before they knew what primal scream was.
Right. And of course, you don't want to scare everybody. So, you can yell in a pillow or whatever you want to do. But there is something about that. I did that. I think it was November 6th or November 7th. I did that, and I just I've never done that before, and
Well,
I felt so much better.
absolutely. Think
Yeah.
about it. What the Mound of the Hostages is the soul waiting for its moment to leave. It's a
Uh,
burial ground.
the burial ground, right?
And when the light comes through, that's when it goes. It's the portal is now lit. It knows how to leave, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the same, I mean, they were calendars, but they were so much more because there was such a deep understanding because they had to wait. They understood the patience. They understood the measurement. You can't do
Mm-hmm.
that till this happens. You can't do that till,
Right.
and it's the wheel of the year, period,
Sure.
on a farm.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
The
Yeah.
animals will tell you
That's
what
how
to
they
do.
do it. That's how the farmer does it. There are
That's
times
right.
of the year we do this and that and this and that. Yeah.
That's right.
And we bring in the hay, whatever. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yep.
Wow.
Dry the
Wow.
alfalfa, roll it around, flip
Yeah.
it, flip it.
Flip it. Yeah.
Okay, now stick it in a sheaf.
I don't think a lot of people, and myself included, realize how hard farmers really do work. And of course, it's only gotten easier for them. It's easier than it
Sorta.
was. Yeah.
Sort
Yeah.
of, because now there's restrictions that they didn't have. Before,
True.
the restrictions were nature bound. Now
Right.
there's restrictions that are government bound.
Technological. That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Wow. Well, thank you, Diana, as always, for
Well,
your insight. And we did get these books from, and I got this one. I enjoyed looking through
Yeah.
it. And when we come back to do Astara, we'll have that book as well.
yes,
So.
and I already got that. But we were going to do an incantation, but let's
Yeah,
do
we
it
were. Do you want to
fire.
lead us out with one? Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
if you have one, but I wrote one.
No, I don't have one.
You don't have one? Okay. All right. I have written this a long time ago.
Okay.
And Bride is also a bard.
Mm-hmm.
It's the female version of Merlin.
Okay.
Okay.
Wonderful. Yeah.
So
Wonderful.
as we close, let's just take 3 deep breaths to clear our mind. Brigid the smithy, teach me to forge. Together we bridge over the gorge. What as it floats under the boards? Scraps to release as bits move outwards. The used and the need and how to proceed rise on the babbles of the elemental creed. And so mote it be.
So would it be? Wonderful. Yes. Thank you, goddess / Saint Bride.
And thank you, St. Alice.
Oh, and Saint Diana. You're the huntress, actually.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
Well, and that's part of Elen as well.
It is part of the land. Yeah. Yeah. That's great. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you soon. Take
Bye.
care. Thank you, Diana. Bye-bye.